When my sister told me she'd stolen my entire inheritance through manipulating our dying father, I laughed in her face. Days later, I was standing in an empty house, watching movers pack up my family's legacy. That's when I realized blood might be thicker than water, but greed cuts deeper than both. If you're watching this, hit subscribe and tell me in the comments if you've ever been betrayed by family. Because what happened next makes soap operas look like bedtime stories. The marble floors of Harrison and Associates law office felt colder than usual that morning. Maybe it was the air conditioning, or maybe it was the ice running through my veins as I watched my sister Belinda glide into the conference room like she owned the place. Which, technically, she now did. "Margaret, darling, you look exhausted," she purred, adjusting her Hermes scarf. "These last few weeks must have been so difficult for you." I gripped my coffee cup tighter, forcing myself to maintain eye contact. "Cut the act, Belinda. We both know why we're here." Mr. Harrison, our family's attorney for 20 years, cleared his throat uncomfortably. "Ladies, shall we proceed with the reading of the final will?" Final will. The words hit me like a slap. There had been another will just 3 months ago, before Dad's sudden decline. Before Belinda swooped in with her round-the-clock caring daughter routine. Before everything changed. As per the document signed and notarized on April 15th, Harrison continued, the entire estate, including the family home at 1242 Maple Grove, all business holdings and liquid assets totaling approximately $12 million, are to be transferred to Belinda Catherine Morrison. The room started spinning. "That's impossible," I heard myself say. "Dad promised the foundation to me. We spent years planning it together. The Children's Hospital wing, the scholarship program." "Oh, Maggie," Belinda interrupted, her voice dripping with false sympathy. "Dad simply realized who was better equipped to handle such responsibility. You've always been so emotional, so impulsive. He needed someone steady." I stood up so fast my chair crashed backward. "Steady? Is that what you call manipulating a dying man? What did you do, Belinda? What did you say to him in those final weeks when you barely let me see him?" Harrison raised his hands placatingly. "Ms. Morrison, please." "No," I cut him off. "I want to know how she did it. I want to see every document, every change, every signature. Because this isn't over. Not by a long shot. Script part separator ===. Belinda's perfect mask cracked for just a second, enough for me to catch a flash of something like fear in her eyes. But she recovered quickly, gathering her designer handbag and standing with practiced grace. "You always were a sore loser, Margaret. I'll have my team contact you about vacating the property within 30 days. I watched her click-clack her way out of the office, then turned to Harrison. "Tell me everything. Now." The lawyer shifted uncomfortably. "Margaret, you know I can't discuss. 20 years, Jim. You've known me since I was 10. You really believe I'd do something to hurt Dad's legacy?" He glanced at the door, then lowered his voice. "Off the record, there were irregularities. The witnesses to the new will, I didn't recognize them. And the timing? The timing? The changes were made exactly 3 days after your father's medication was adjusted, when his lucidity was questionable." My heart pounded. "I need copies. Everything. I can't. I don't care about legal. I care about right and wrong. Dad wanted that money to help people, not fund Belinda's shopping addiction." Harrison stared at me for a long moment, then opened his desk drawer. He pulled out a thick manila envelope. "I never gave you this. And Margaret? Be careful. Your sister, she has powerful friends now." I clutched the envelope to my chest, my mind already racing. First up, Dad's neurologist. Then his nurses. Someone had to have noticed something during those final weeks. My phone buzzed, a text from Belinda. "Check your email. Movers coming Thursday. Don't make this messy." I smiled grimly. "Oh, sister dear," I thought. Messy doesn't begin to cover what's coming. Walking to my car, I noticed a dark SUV idling across the street. The driver was watching me intently. I pretended not to notice, but my hands shook as I unlocked my door. What kind of people had Belinda gotten involved with? I had 30 days to expose the truth. 30 days before I lost everything. But Belinda had forgotten one crucial detail about her emotional, impulsive little sister. I had nothing left to lose. And that made me very, very dangerous. First up, calling Emily Chen, Dad's head nurse during those final weeks. She tried to tell me something was wrong, but I'd been too distraught to listen. Time to fix that mistake. The game was on. And this time, I was playing to win. Script part separator equals. I pulled into St. Mary's Hospital parking lot, my mind racing faster than my heartbeat. Emily Chen had agreed to meet me during her break, but her text was cryptic. Can't talk inside. Too many eyes. The manila envelope from Harrison felt like it was burning a hole in my passenger seat. I hadn't even opened it yet. Something told me I needed witnesses when I did. Emily was already waiting by the coffee cart, nervously checking her phone. When she saw me, her eyes widened. Margaret, I'm so sorry about your father. The way things ended. Tell me everything, Emily. What happened in those last weeks? She glanced around, lowering her voice. Your sister, she changed all the protocols. New nurses, new medication schedules. Said it came from Dr. Matthews, but what? Dr. Matthews was on vacation that week. When he came back, the orders were already in place. And your father? She hesitated. What about my father? He kept asking for you. But every time you called, Belinda said he was sleeping. Then one night, I heard them arguing. Your father was lucid, shouting about changes to his will. The next day, his medication dosage doubled. My blood ran cold. Who authorized that? The paperwork had Dr. Matthews' signature, but Emily pulled out her phone, showing me a photo. I kept this. Compare it to his real signature. The difference was subtle but clear. Someone had forged a doctor's orders. There's more, Emily continued. The night before the new will was signed, a man visited. Expensive suit. Very aggressive. He and Belinda talked for hours in your father's room. When they left, your father seemed different. Scared. My phone buzzed. Another text from Belinda. Hope you're not doing anything foolish, sis. Remember, who has the power now? As if on cue, I noticed two men in suits walking purposefully toward us. Emily saw them too, and quickly stood. I have to go. But Margaret? Be careful. These people, they're not just after money. I watched her hurry away, then casually walked to my car, making sure the suits saw me leave. But instead of heading home, I drove straight to the police station. Something told me I'd need to file a report soon, before anything unfortunate happened to the evidence I was gathering. The game had just gotten deadlier. But Belinda wasn't the only one who could play dirty. Script part separator equals. Detective Sarah Martinez looked skeptical as I spread the documents across her desk. Financial elder abuse is hard to prove, Ms. Morrison, especially when the deceased had signed off on everything. But the signatures, I insisted, pulling out the medical records Emily had photographed. And the suspicious medication changes, which were all technically legal. She leaned forward. Look, off the record? I've seen cases like this before. Usually involves organized groups, targeting wealthy seniors. They work with corrupt medical staff, lawyers. Lawyers? My mind raced to Harrison. Had he been involved from the start? Your sister's new friends. Any of them have connections to Platinum Capital Group? The name hit me like a thunderbolt. Yes. She mentioned their CEO at Dad's funeral. Marcus something. Marcus Sterling. Martinez's face darkened. We've been trying to build a case against them for years. Real estate fraud, elder exploitation, but they're too well protected. My phone buzzed again. Belinda, dinner tonight? We should talk about your future plans. Martinez saw the text. Be careful. If they're who I think they are, they'll try to buy your silence first. If that doesn't work, I thought of the men in suits at the hospital. I need protection. What you need is evidence. Hard proof of coercion or forgery. She handed me her card. And Margaret? Watch your back. These people make problems disappear. Walking out, I texted Belinda back. Can't tonight. Too busy packing your house. Her response was immediate. Don't be difficult. Mr. Sterling would love to discuss a consulting position with you. Very generous compensation. So that was their play, buy me off. But they didn't know about the envelope Harrison gave me, or Emily's photos, or the recording device I'd just purchased to wear to that dinner I'd supposedly canceled. Time to see what my dear sister would let slip after a few glasses of wine. The movers were at the house when I arrived, already packing Mom's antique china. Leave that, I snapped. Court order coming. Everything stays until the will investigation is complete. Let Belinda chew on that for a while. The game was changing, now I just had to stay alive long enough to win it. Script part separator equals. I sat in my car outside Belinda's favorite restaurant, Le Petit Jardin, watching her arrive in a sleek black Mercedes. 2 men in suits flanked her, different ones from a hospital. Just how deep was she in with these people? My recording device felt heavy against my chest as I walked in. The maitre d' led me to their private booth, where Belinda sat with Marcus Sterling himself, a silver-haired shark in a $1,000 suit. Margaret, darling. Belinda air-kissed my cheek. You remember Marcus? How could I forget? He was at Dad's funeral, hovering like a vulture. Please, sit, Sterling gestured. We have an exciting proposition for you. I ordered a martini, watching Belinda fidget with her napkin. She always played with things when she was nervous. Let's cut to the chase, Sterling said. We're prepared to offer you a position at Platinum. 7 figures plus benefits. All you have to do is support your sister's version of events. I took a slow sip. And if I decline? His smile never reached his eyes. Life's uncertain, Margaret. Accidents happen. Especially to people who make waves. Is that what happened to Dad? I asked quietly. An accident with his medication? Belinda's hand jerked, knocking over her wine. As the waiter rushed to clean it, I caught her panicked glance at Sterling. Careful, Margaret, he said softly. Some questions are better left unasked. Like, why Dad changed his will right after meeting you. Or, why Dr. Matthews' signature was forged. Sterling's facade cracked slightly. Who have you been talking to? That's when I played my trump card. I reached into my purse and pulled out a single sheet from Harrison's envelope. Want to explain this? It was a bank statement showing millions transferred from our family foundation to offshore accounts, all authorized by Belinda, all dated before Dad's death. My sister's face went chalk white. Where did you get that? The same place I got everything else, I said, standing. The police have copies. So, does the FBI's Financial Crimes Unit. And if anything happens to me, it all goes public. Sterling grabbed my arm. Don't be stupid, girl. You have no idea what you're dealing with. I pulled free. No, you don't know what you're dealing with. I'm not some rich old man you can bully. I'm a daughter avenging her father. Belinda stood shakily. Maggie, please. You don't understand. They made me. Save it for your deposition, sis. I walked out, heart pounding but head high. In my car, I finally let myself shake. I'd just declared war on some very dangerous people. But the look on Belinda's face, she was cracking. And when she broke, she'd take them all down with her. My phone buzzed. Detective Martinez. We got the warrant. Moving on Sterling tonight. Stay somewhere safe. I smiled grimly. The endgame was beginning. Script part separator equals. I drove straight to the Four Seasons, where Martinez had arranged a safe room under a fake name. As I pulled into the parking garage, headlights flashed behind me. Another black Mercedes. My hands shook as I parked, but I forced myself to walk calmly to the elevator. The doors were almost closed when a hand shot between them. Belinda stepped in, mascara streaked down her face. We need to talk. I backed against the wall. How did you find me? Your phone, she said flatly. Sterling's people tracked it. But I came alone. Please, just listen. The elevator stopped at my floor. I considered running, but something in her voice made me pause. 10 minutes, I said, letting her follow me to my room. Talk. She collapsed into a chair, looking nothing like the polished socialite from dinner. They have Mom's Cancer Foundation, she whispered. All the donor lists, the research data. If I didn't cooperate, they threatened to destroy everything she worked for. Why didn't you tell me? They said they'd kill you. She met my eyes. Sterling's done it before. Remember the Peterson case last year? That car accident wasn't random. My blood ran cold. The Petersons had been family friends. Their daughter had died in a crash right after her father changed his will. I pulled out my phone, showing Belinda the recording app. Say that again. All of it. She straightened up, steel entering her voice. I'll do better. I'll give them everything, dates, accounts, names. But Margaret? After this, we'll both need to disappear. My phone buzzed. Martinez. Raid starting. Stay put. Too late. A loud bang echoed from the hallway, followed by heavy footsteps. Belinda's eyes went wide. They followed me. I grabbed her arm and pulled her into the bathroom just as the door burst open. Through the crack, I saw Sterling himself, flanked by his suits. Find them, he snarled. No loose ends. The game wasn't just deadly now.
It was do or die.
Script part separator ===. We crouched in the bathroom, hearts pounding as footsteps approached. Belinda gripped my arm, her perfectly manicured nails digging into my skin. I held my breath, mind racing. The recording app was still running. If we survived, this would be golden evidence. Check everywhere, Sterling's voice commanded. And remember, make it look like a robbery gone wrong. I glanced around desperately. The bathroom window was small but might work. Belinda seemed to read my mind, already moving toward it. Suddenly, my phone vibrated. The hotel room phone started ringing simultaneously. Sterling's men paused. Front desk, a woman's voice echoed through the door. Security noticed some suspicious individuals. Take care of it, Sterling snapped. That's when I heard it. The beautiful sound of police sirens, growing louder. Boss, we got company, one of the suits called out. Lots of company. Margaret Morrison. Detective Martinez's voice boomed through a megaphone outside. This is the police. We have the building surrounded. The bathroom door splintered open. Sterling stood there, gun raised, his sophisticated veneer completely gone. You stupid little girls, he snarled. You could have been rich. Now you'll be dead. But he'd made one critical mistake. He'd focused on me, forgetting about Belinda. My sister, the former high school tennis champion, swung her heavy designer bag like a mace, catching him square in the temple. The gun clattered to the floor as he staggered. I dove for it just as the hotel room door burst open, SWAT team members flooding in. Sterling's men didn't even try to fight. They were businessmen, not soldiers. FBI. Everyone down. I kept the gun trained on Sterling as he slumped against the wall, blood trickling from his head. That's for our father, I said coldly. Martinez rushed in, quickly cuffing Sterling. Everyone okay? Belinda was shaking but managed a weak smile. Just family game night, detective. Though I think I might have ruined my Gucci bag. I couldn't help but laugh, a slightly hysterical sound. Don't worry, sis. I'm sure they have designer boutiques in witness protection. As they led Sterling and his men away, I found myself staring at my sister. The woman who'd betrayed me, then helped save my life. The web of lies and fear was unraveling, but the damage to our relationship, that would take longer to repair. My phone buzzed one final time. A text from Harrison. Your father would be proud. I showed it to Belinda. She wiped away a tear, then squared her shoulders. Let's make him prouder. Together this time. The foundation would survive. Sterling's empire would crumble. And two sisters, broken but not beaten, would rebuild something stronger from the ashes of betrayal. But first, we had statements to give, depositions to make, and one hell of a story to tell. Script part separator ===. Detective Martinez led us into separate interrogation rooms at the precinct, standard procedure, even though we were now technically on the same side. Through the window, I watched Belinda methodically detailing 8 years of Sterling's operation. Her hands shook as she drew elaborate flowcharts connecting shell companies to murder victims. My own statement took hours. Every document from Harrison's envelope had to be logged, every conversation time-stamped. I kept thinking about Dad, how proud he'd be of us finally working together, even if it took a criminal empire to make it happen. Around midnight, Martinez brought us coffee. We've got enough to bury Sterling, she said. But his organization runs deep. You'll both need protection until the trial. Belinda looked up from her flowcharts. What about the foundation? Mom's research? Already secured, Martinez assured her. We froze all accounts before the raid. Sterling can't touch them. I felt a weight lift from my shoulders, but something still nagged at me. The Peterson accident. How many others were there? Too many, Belinda whispered. Show her the Singapore files. Martinez spread out a new set of documents. 6 mysterious accidents in 3 years, all involving wealthy seniors who changed their wills. Sterling's signature move was making the children disappear after they started asking questions. Just like he planned for us, I realized. If we hadn't recorded everything. A knock interrupted us. Agent Chin from the FBI waited at the door, looking grave. We've got a problem. Sterling's lawyer is here. With Judge Hamilton. Martinez swore under her breath. Hamilton was notorious for being in Sterling's pocket. If he got involved. Suddenly, Belinda stood up. I need 5 minutes with the judge. Alone. Martinez started to object, but something in my sister's face stopped her. What do you have? Belinda smiled grimly. Let's just say Judge Hamilton's son has some interesting offshore accounts. Sterling wasn't the only one I kept records on. I watched her stride toward the judge's chambers, spine straight, chin high. My sister, the master manipulator, was finally using her powers for good. The game wasn't over yet, but for the first time, we were holding all the cards. Script part separator . Through the precinct windows, I watched Judge Hamilton leave 20 minutes later, his face ashen. Belinda emerged looking satisfied but exhausted. He won't be a problem anymore, she said, collapsing into a chair. None of them will. Martinez raised an eyebrow. Do I want to know? Probably not. But it's all in here. Belinda handed over a USB drive. Every dirty deal, every bribe, every accident. 8 years of Sterling's operation. Backed up and time-stamped. I stared at my sister. You documented everything? Insurance, she said simply. I knew someday it would all collapse. I hoped Dad wouldn't be caught in the crossfire. Her voice cracked on the last word. For the first time, I saw the toll these years had taken on her, the perfectly maintained facade crumbling to reveal exhaustion, fear, and grief. Ms. Morrison, Agent Chen interrupted. We need to move you both now.
Safe house is ready.
As we gathered our things, my phone lit up with breaking news alerts. Platinum Capital CEO arrested. Massive fraud scheme uncovered. It's starting, Martinez said grimly. The vultures will be circling by morning. She was right. By dawn, Sterling's empire would be front-page news. Every journalist, competitor, and law enforcement agency would be digging for details. And somewhere in that chaos, 2 sisters who'd spent years as enemies would have to learn to be family again. The safe house awaited, our temporary home until the storm passed. But first, we had one stop to make. Dad's grave, Belinda said, reading my mind. He deserves to know it's over. Martinez hesitated, then nodded to her team. 30 minutes. Make it count. As we drove through the silent pre-dawn streets, I realized something. Sometimes justice wears designer heels and carries a Gucci bag. Sometimes the biggest acts of courage come wrapped in perfectly applied lipstick and years of carefully documented betrayal. And sometimes, just sometimes, survival means trusting the very person who broke your heart. Script part separator . We stood at Dad's grave in the soft morning light, surrounded by a protective circle of FBI agents. The marble headstone seemed to glow, his name etched in permanent accusation. Richard James Morrison, beloved father, devoted humanitarian. He knew something was wrong, Belinda whispered. That last week, he kept trying to tell me about a letter he'd hidden. But Sterling's people were always there, always watching. My head snapped up. A letter? Where? Behind Mom's portrait in the study. But the house is still frozen as evidence, I finished, already pulling out my phone to call Martinez. 2 hours later, we stood in our childhood home, watching as FBI techs carefully removed the massive oil painting of our mother. There, in a small alcove carved into the wall, was a sealed envelope. My hands shook as I opened it, Belinda reading over my shoulder. My dearest daughters, if you're reading this, something has gone terribly wrong. The men from Platinum, they're not what they seem. I've discovered their true operation, but they're watching too closely now. The evidence is in the place you both loved most as children. Remember, sometimes the best hiding spot is in plain sight. Love, Dad. Belinda gasped. The treehouse. What? The old treehouse. We used to hide everything there. Remember the secret compartment under the floorboards? Martinez was already calling for backup, but I barely heard her. My mind was racing. Dad had known. He'd left us a breadcrumb trail. Even dying, he'd fought to protect us. Time to end this, I said, grabbing Belinda's hand. Once and for all. The treehouse waited at the edge of the property, weathered but standing. And underneath those ancient boards lay the final piece of the puzzle, the one that would bring Sterling's entire empire crashing down. Script part separator ===. We climbed the rickety treehouse ladder with Martinez spotting us from below. The old wooden structure creaked ominously. It had been 20 years since we'd last played here as children. Belinda ran her hands along the floorboards. Here, the loose plank with the butterfly carving. Together, we pried it up. The space beneath was dark, but I could make out a metal lockbox. Dad's old emergency cash box, exactly where we'd always hidden our childhood treasures. Inside was a thick manila envelope and a USB drive, along with a handwritten note. For my girls, when you're ready to face the truth together. The envelope contained photographs, dozens of them. Sterling with known criminals. Security camera stills of suspicious accidents. Bank statements showing millions in illegal transfers. But it was the USB drive that made Martinez's eyes go wide. Found it, she breathed, scanning through files. Years of surveillance. Your father was building a case against Sterling the whole time. That's why they killed him, Belinda whispered. He wasn't just a victim, he was a threat. I grabbed her hand as tears rolled down her face. No, I said firmly. He was a hero. And now we finished what he started. Martinez was already calling it in. Within hours, the evidence would be processed, charges would be filed, and Sterling's remaining allies would start falling like dominoes. Dad's final gift to us wasn't just justice. It was the truth that forced us to stand together again. To remember who we were before greed and fear tore us apart. The morning sun streamed through the treehouse windows, casting long shadows on the weathered floor. Somewhere in the distance, sirens wailed. The end was coming, but for us it was also a beginning. Script part separator ===. The next few days passed in a blur of depositions, witness statements, and media frenzy. Sterling's empire was crumbling hour by hour as more victims came forward. But we had our own healing to do. I found Belinda in Dad's study late one night, surrounded by old photo albums. Remember this? She asked, pointing to a faded picture of us at the beach. Before everything got so complicated. I sat beside her, studying our younger selves building sandcastles.
We were so happy then.
What happened to us? Ambition.
Fear. Pride.
She closed the album gently. I convinced myself I was protecting you by keeping you away from Sterling. But really, I was just too scared to trust anyone, even my own sister. Martinez called with updates hourly. Sterling's associates were turning on each other, scrambling for immunity deals. The offshore accounts were being frozen, assets seized. Judge Hamilton had resigned rather than face investigation. But the real story was happening quietly, behind the headlines. Two sisters learning to talk again. To trust again. Over late-night coffee and tear-stained photographs, we began rebuilding what greed had broken. The foundation would survive, stronger now with both of us at the helm. Dad's legacy would live on, not just in charitable works, but in the bond he'd forced us to rediscover. As we sorted through years of memories and mistakes, one truth became crystal clear. Sometimes the greatest victory isn't winning the war. It's finding your way back to who you were always meant to be. The media circus would eventually die down. Sterling would face justice. But the real healing was just beginning. Script parts separator equals. The witness protection program suggested we leave town, start fresh somewhere else. But Belinda and I had other plans. The Morrison Foundation would rise again, this time dedicated not just to medical research, but to helping victims of financial fraud and elder abuse. The day of Sterling's arraignment, we sat in the courtroom together, watching his empire crumble. His designer suit couldn't hide his desperation as the charges were read: fraud, conspiracy, murder, elder abuse. The list went on for nearly an hour. "How long do you think he'll get?" Belinda whispered. "Not long enough," I replied, thinking of Dad's final days. But karma wasn't finished with Marcus Sterling. As he was led away in handcuffs, his own associates began turning on him. By nightfall, 3 of his top lieutenants had cut deals with the DA. Back at the house, our house now, jointly owned as Dad had originally intended, we found an unexpected delivery. A package from Dad's old storage unit, sent automatically by his lawyer 1 year after his death. Inside was a video, recorded just weeks before Sterling entered our lives. Dad's face filled the screen, healthy and smiling. "My girls, if you're watching this, something's gone wrong. But I know my daughters. Together, you're unstoppable. Remember that the greatest legacy isn't money or property, it's the love we share. And no one can steal that unless you let them." Belinda and I held each other, crying and laughing as Dad's voice filled the room. He'd known, somehow, that we'd find our way back to each other. The Foundation's first major project would be a legal aid fund for families affected by financial fraud. We named it after Dad. It felt right, turning our pain into purpose, our loss into legacy. Sterling's trial was approaching, but we weren't afraid anymore. The truth was finally coming to light, and we were ready to face it, together. Script part separator equals. As Sterling's trial date approached, the media circus intensified. Every day brought new revelations, more victims coming forward. Belinda and I took turns testifying, sharing our story with a jury that seemed stunned by the scope of Sterling's crimes. But the real bombshell came from an unexpected source. Judge Hamilton's son, facing his own criminal charges, decided to cooperate. His testimony revealed a network of corruption spanning 3 states, dozens of families, and hundreds of millions in stolen assets. The morning of the verdict, Belinda and I sat in the courtroom, hands clasped tightly. Sterling looked smaller somehow, his expensive suit hanging loose, his confident smirk replaced by grim resignation. In the matter of the state versus Marcus Sterling, the judge began on the count of first-degree murder. The word guilty echoed through the courtroom again and again. 25 years to life. No possibility of parole. Sterling's empire hadn't just crumbled, it had been obliterated. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed us. But instead of answering questions, Belinda grabbed my hand and pulled me toward the car. "Where are we going?" I asked.
Home, she said simply.
"We have a foundation to run." She was right. Justice was served, but our real work was just beginning. Script part separator equals. Later that evening, we sat in Dad's study, surrounded by foundation paperwork. The media had finally left our driveway, and a peaceful quiet settled over the house. "Look what I found," Belinda said, pulling an old photo from Dad's desk. It showed us as children, covered in paint after attempting to redecorate this very room. We'd been grounded for a week, but Dad had secretly framed the photo. "We were quite the team back then," I mused, studying our younger selves. "We still are." Belinda paused, then added softly, "I'm sorry it took all this to remind me of that." My phone buzzed, Martinez with an update. Sterling was being transferred to maximum security. His remaining assets had been frozen, and investigations were opening in 3 more states. "It's really over," I breathed. "Not quite." Belinda pulled out a stack of applications. "These are all families Sterling targeted. They need help rebuilding their lives." I smiled, reaching for file. Some wounds would take time to heal, but we had something stronger than revenge now. We had purpose. As the sun set outside Dad's window, we got to work. The Morrison sisters were back in business, and this time, Nothing would tear us apart. The Morrison Foundation's first annual charity gala fell exactly 1 year after Sterling's conviction. Standing at the podium together, Belinda and I surveyed the crowd of survivors, supporters, and new beginnings. In memory of our father, I began, and in service to those who've faced similar battles. We're proud to announce the Foundation's Legal Defense Fund has already helped 20 families recover their stolen legacies, Belinda finished. Later that night, as the last guest departed, we stood in Dad's old study. The portrait of our mother watched over us, hiding no more secrets, just memories. He'd be proud of us, Belinda said softly. Both of us, I agreed. My phone buzzed. Martinez sending a final update. Sterling found dead in his cell.
Apparent suicide.
I showed Belinda the message. She nodded grimly. Justice comes in many forms. We didn't celebrate. Instead, we poured 2 glasses of Dad's favorite scotch and raised a quiet toast. To family.
To truth.
To second chances. Some say blood is thicker than water. But we learned it's not blood that binds us. It's the choices we make, the truths we face, and the love we choose to fight for. The foundation would continue growing, helping others reclaim what greed had stolen. But its greatest achievement wasn't measured in dollars or headlines. It was measured in 2 sisters standing together, stronger than ever. That's what Dad had wanted all along. And